everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BSN podcast. Today is Friday, August 12th. Hope everybody's having a day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Friday, August 12th here today, coming off of an exciting night last night in the world of sports. You had a lot of baseball and some preseason football on yesterday. You had the Field of Dreams game, obviously, Cubs-Reds. Cubs get the win. So the 2022 edition of the Field of Dreams game wasn't as entertaining, I should say, as last year's with the Yankees and the White Sox going back and forth, all the home runs. Obviously, Tim Anderson with the walk-off blast off of Zach Britton last year. This year wasn't as good, but still, just watching the game, seeing the field, the drone footage from overhead, from on top of this field, and, just flying over the cornfields. It's really just a great experience that the MLB sets up. So that was last night. Like I said, you also had some preseason football as well. Giants played last night, so you had some Giants football. The Brian Dable, Joe Shane era officially got kicked off yesterday with a 23-21 victory over the New England Patriots. So a good win yesterday for the Giants. It's preseason. It doesn't mean anything, but there was some takeaways, to take from the game, obviously, and there's still going to be some things to talk about. The score at the end of the day doesn't mean anything. I always say with the preseason, there's a couple big things. Number one, if you get out of the preseason healthy, it's automatically a win. Whether you go 0-3 in the 3 games, if you come out healthy, it's a win for you. And you go into the regular season, that obviously means the most. Obviously, healthy. That's the biggest thing. So the Giants yesterday came out, healthy. Other than Shane Lemieux and the injury he got, we'll see how that plays out. But they came out healthy, and that's the biggest thing. You saw some good things from Daniel Jones. You saw some good things from the offense. It's preseason game number 1. There's still a lot of practice, still a lot of training camp to go. So we're going to get into that in the second topic today. Got a lot of football to get to today, though, as the Jets will also play today with their first preseason game tonight against the Eagles in Philly. So looking forward to that. Zach Wilson, Saleh said he'll get about a drive or two, or kind of snap count in a way. So if he goes down the field in 9 plays and scores a touchdown his first drive, that's probably all you'll see from Zach Wilson. So it depends on how the first drive goes, about 2 drives or so for all the starters. So we'll see how that plays out. Yankees tonight as well. They open up a 3-game set against the Red Sox. Mets tonight as well. They open up a 3-game set against the Phillies. So Mets will look to continue their hot streak. Yankees will look to end their current skid that they've been on of losing, and they'll look to get back on track tonight. And really, in general, just this series. Get a series win, go back home, get ready for Tampa, and, then you have a big homestand against Tampa, Blue Jays, and then the Mets before you head out west after that. So let's get to the topics for today's podcast. We're going to get into the Jets signing Dwayne Brown. Yesterday, the New York Jets have made their move to replace Mekhi Becton as they go out and sign 5-time Pro Bowler Dwayne Brown, free agent, obviously, from the Seahawks. Played last year, was with the Seahawks for many, many years. A veteran, 36 years old, going to turn 37 very soon. The Jets bring him in, sign him. They had him at the green and white scrimmage for a visit. Douglas was talking to him a lot of, there was definitely a neutral, mutual is the word they used there, kind of a mutual liking towards each other in terms of Dwayne Brown, I think, likes the situation that the Jets bring to him, and then the Jets like what Dwayne Brown brings to him. So we're going to get to that deal. We're going to get into it, and what this means for George Fant, where's Dwayne Brown going to play, and what the left tackle, right tackle situation could look like come week 1. We're also going to get to the Giants recap last night, like I mentioned, 23-21 win over the Patriots. So we're going to get to that, talk about the good, the bad, and kind of just recap it. There was a lot more good than bad. There's definitely still some things with the offense and definitely still some little critiques here and there. There was also some guys that are fighting for roster spots that had some good performances last night. So we'll get into all that, and we'll finish it off with the New York Sports Update, as always. Finish things off tonight. Yankees 3-game set in Boston. Mets 3-game set against the Phillies at home at Citi Field. So they'll look to continue their hot streak while the Yankees try to end their current skid. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So the New York Jets made a move yesterday. They went out and signed 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time second-team All-Pro, and first-team All-Pro as well. So a 3-time All-Pro, 2-time he was second-team, 1-time he was the first-team, and a 5-time Pro Bowler, Dwayne Brown, free agent, who obviously came in from a visit. And, this has been kind of a move that's been, that's been talked about over the past couple days. going all the way back to last Saturday, really, when he was at the green and white scrimmage for a visit, was watching practice, talking to Douglas and all that stuff. And, then Becton goes down. Dwayne Brown originally was going to come in. They brought him in for a visit originally. And that was when Becton was still healthy. Then when Becton went down on Monday with the knee injury that turns out is going to have to take a season-ending surgery, and he will not be playing again this year, Dwayne Brown, his stock kind of rose, and the urgency in a way to bring him in went up a lot, because you went from bringing in Dwayne Brown as just another veteran depth piece to now bringing in Dwayne Brown as a starting tackle and a guy who's going to need to play a big role in protecting your franchise quarterback and Zach Wilson, who we're all hoping to see make that second-year jump. So this was a move that needed to be made. Now, I like the move. I do. Now, I have expressed my concerns with the move because I think the move's very good. I think it's a veteran. It's a guy that knows the scheme. It's a 2-year, $22 million deal, $11 million per year. That is his AAV. That's the average annual value he'll make this year. So it's a guy that you get for 2 years. He's a stopgap at left tackle. He's a veteran. He knows the scheme. He's just a veteran too. And I think that's one thing where I think that's where the positives come in with this deal is, when you look at the veteran, right? The Jets brought in Quan Alexander, a veteran, into camp. Now they're bringing in Duane Brown, a veteran. Two things those guys have in common is they're both veterans, obviously, and they both know the scheme. And that's one thing that you can get away with is when you sign guys in training camp, if they know the system, if they know the scheme already, Quan Alexander already, being in the offense or being in the defense with Robert Saleh in San Francisco, Dwayne Brown knowing the Shanahan offense, LaFleur, all that stuff, knowing all that type of stuff. He's a scheme fit as well. These are two guys that already know a scheme, so you can plug him in right away. Now, the big question is, where do they go with George Fant? Does George Fant play left tackle? Does Dwayne Brown play right tackle? That is all up in the air. They're going to bring in Dwayne Brown. They're going to talk to him about it. They're going to have a meeting with him, and it's all going to get ironed out. It's all going to get figured out whether or not Dwayne Brown is going to play left tackle, whether he's going to play right tackle. Is George Fant now going to get shifted back over to right tackle? What is going to happen? How is this going to play out? That's all up in the air. My big thing is George Fant's just not as good at right tackle as he is left tackle. But Dwayne Brown is a very solid left tackle. In his career, he's majority has played left tackle. He's had 12,525 snaps from the left tackle position, and he's only had 4 snaps from the right tackle position. So it shows you that Dwayne Brown, outside of 4 snaps in his career, has played all left tackle, and he's done very well at it. And that's what I like about this move is, like I said, the one negative is what you're going to have to figure out with George Fant. I'll get to that a little bit later on in the program here. But the positive is he's a veteran. And I know the Jets were saying, Max Mitchell looked good at right tackle and all that stuff. And, he's a young player that, is progressing fast. But that's the worry is, when you want the best possible scenario to set up your quarterback, to have success, to protect your quarterback, is to bring in a veteran. Because the last thing you want is to trust Max Mitchell, a later round pick at the offensive line position, to trust him this year to play right tackle, to fill in the shoes of Becton, obviously keep Fant at left, and then Max Mitchell start to struggle, and then all of a sudden you're in a situation where he's struggling. Your options during the year to pick up a veteran is going to be dwindling because Dwayne Brown had other options. There was other teams that were interested in him. Dwayne Brown chose the Jets because of the culture. He likes what they're doing. He likes the scheme. He's a scheme fit. They're going to plug him in as a starter now that Becton's down, so he's going to get a lot of playing time. And he's going to get a 2-year deal here, good amount of money, and this very well might lead up to the end of his career because he's 36, almost turning 37. But that's the positive from this, is a veteran, a guy that you could plug in right away and you could trust at that tackle position to protect Wilson and protect Wilson and even just protect the run game too. If your offensive line's not good, run game's not going to get going, Wilson's not going to be able to get going, passing game's going to struggle. Offensive line is so pivotal. And when Becton went down, you knew that there had to be a sense of urgency, and Douglas showed that. And that is the positive over Max Mitchell, because you still see some people out there saying, Max Mitchell was doing well. Good for Max Mitchell. He's a rookie. He's young. He's going to have growing pains. If he starts to struggle during the year, that's a problem. So this is the safest move. This is the lowest risk. This is the low risk, high reward move for the New York Jets. The low risk is if it doesn't work out, it's not like you lock them up for the next 10 years. and he's a veteran too, so he's going to work through things. The high reward is you get a guy that's a 5-time Pro Bowler, you get a guy that's a veteran, you get a guy that's solid. Morgan Moses, for example, last year. If he can give us the production like that, that would be very good. Morgan Moses was a very good piece for us last year at the right tackle position when they moved Font over to left tackle to replace Becton. Moses was very good. We signed him in the offseason, veteran, depth piece, played a lot of games, started a lot of games. That's one thing with Dwayne Brown. He's played a lot of games in his career. He's seen a lot. He's a veteran. It's all good. And that's another thing, too. He's been able to stay healthy. The big thing now is health. Right? One of your tackles is already down. The last thing you want is to bring in an injury-prone guy. He's played every game the past 2 years. He has started in every game the past 2 years, which is very good. Something that you definitely want to see from your tackle. And a guy that you get, instead of trying to trust a rookie to fill the need, you bring in a veteran, you bring in a proven guy. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time second-team All-Pro, along with the first-team All-Pro edition. Brings a lot to the table, and I like this move for the New York Jets. And I think we all agree that there was a lot of pressure on Douglas to get a deal done. He had him in on Saturday at the Green and White scrimmage. There was some mutual interest there. There was definitely some mutual interest. And now with Becton going down on Monday, I think the stakes and for the people out there that were wondering, it's a 2-year deal. I personally think if Becton never went down, it probably would have been just a 1-year deal. Look, come here, be a depth piece. But the fact that Becton went down and now he's got to start, his value goes up even more. And I'm sure other teams, too, were trying to get him. And this shows me something, too, about the Jets. Because, and look, I'm not, they still got to prove it out there on the field that, that Saleh is legit, that all these pieces are legit, that this coach can lead us to doing great things. But it definitely shows you that the culture is definitely changing with the Jets. And the view of the New York Jets around the league is much different. Because, I mean, you didn't ever hear guys coming to the Jets while Gaze was here because of the head coach. Dwayne Brown had other options. Dwayne Brown had many other teams. I don't know exactly what teams specifically. They haven't been released. But there was other teams that were in conversations. And that's what made, I think, the sense of urgency, too, in the building of the New York Jets at Florham Park made it even more urgency because you knew there was other teams out there. That were willing to pay him and give him money. For the Jets, they have a bigger need. They needed to bring him in and give him the money quickly. So they did that, obviously making the move yesterday. But this shows you that there is a new kind of view on the Jets. No longer the view is that they're the laughing stock of the league and, they got googly eyes as their head coach and they're losing, 10 to 11, 13 games every year. I know they went 4-13 last year, but it was a building year, it was a developmental year. It was a year where you played a lot of young guys, a lot of growing pains. There was definitely a lot of positive, flashes from the team last year. It's all about now building consistency. Jets found what pieces fit, what pieces don't fit, and now they're really assembling this roster from the ground up. But that's what I'm talking about, is the view now has completely changed. Players are buying into what Saleh's preaching. There is a view on the Jets now that they truly have a GM and a head coach that is truly building a foundation from the ground up. And I think that's another reason. You look at Quan Alexander, a veteran, many options out there, many options available. There's a lot of teams out there that are like playoff teams, win-now teams, that he probably could have went to, but he came to the Jets because he was a scheme fit. He knew Saleh. He trusts Saleh. He knows what they're building. These players want to be a part of it, and it's showing across the league now. And then again, yesterday with Dwayne Brown, right? You bring him in. Many other options. I'm sure there might have been a couple of playoff teams in there. I'm sure there's a couple teams in there that are ready to make the playoffs, ready to be a Super Bowl contenders, but Dwayne Brown chose the Jets to work with a young quarterback, knows the scheme, believes in Saleh. There was a mutual interest, believes in what they're building. Jordan Whitehead, another example, another guy that's signing here. Jets are bringing in guys that have winning in their background, and guys are now coming to the Jets because they know what they're building, and they're finally viewed very differently across the league. And we've seen these 2 times, this example twice, in over the past couple weeks, with the Quan Alexander signing and now the Dwayne Brown signing, where you see a guy coming to the Jets because he likes what they're building, he sees the progress, he sees the whole plan, the whole mapped out plan of what Saleh and this organization is building here. And it's just another sign that the league is starting to view the Jets a little bit differently. And I always say that you never saw players going to the Jets to play with Adam Gase or play for Adam Gase. You never saw that. Even towards the end of Bowles' era, I don't want to crush Bowles because I thought I don't want to crush him. Bowles a lot. I don't want to crush him because he was a lot better than Gaze. Gaze is, the worst of all time, I think, at the Jets coaching position. Even worse than Kotite because he ruined the young quarterback. But you look at, even like a guy like a Bowles towards the end of his run. You could just tell that the overall around the team, there just wasn't that sense of belief. Same thing with Gaze. There was never that sense of belief around the team. You get that sense now with Saleh. You get that sense now with players across, in the league. Some of these guys leaving winning teams to come join the Jets because they see what they're building. It's all that type of stuff, and it's all good to see. And we're continuing to see that with these recent signings. So, all right. So I want to give you some numbers and how important this move is for the New York Jets. So, Zach Wilson, I want to give you some numbers of him. And this isn't a knock on him. This isn't a knock on him. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. I believe in Zach Wilson. I believe in him. I believe he's going to be a very good quarterback for us a long time. But it shows you how important protection is for your starting quarterback. Zach Wilson last year had a completion percentage of 24.4%. That was the fourth lowest by a quarterback since they started calculating that stuff in 2009 when he was under pressure. So it shows you that Zach Wilson needs to have time in the pocket to make throws and connect with his receivers and do great things. And we saw that last year. When he had time in the pocket, when all of his options were there, especially towards the end of the year when he started to really learn the offense and take what the defense was giving him, that was phenomenal. We saw a huge jump in touchdowns and success and completions and a massive decrease in interceptions, incompletions, and turnovers. And that was great to see going into the offseason. So Zach Wilson's a quarterback, and there's guys out there. When he's under pressure, he really struggles. But when he's got time in the pocket, he's going to make plays. And that's something why you needed to see a sense of urgency in Dwayne Brown and this signing. All right, so now let me give you some numbers on Dwayne Brown. So he's top 15 among offensive tackles in pass block win rate, and run block win rate since 2018. He started 61 games over that span. That is ninth most in the league. So up there among some of the best in the league at pass block and both run block win rate. Now, some other things. He's a scheme fit, like I mentioned earlier, which is something that the Jets have continued to show us. Solid. The first day, his introductory press conference, I will always remember that. He said, we're going to bring in guys that fit the scheme, fit what we're building. And they've stuck to their word, and they continue to do that. Quan Alexander, scheme fit. Now Dwayne Brown, scheme fit. All these guys know the scheme. And you can get away with signing a guy in August that knows the scheme. If you're signing a guy in August that doesn't know the scheme and needs to learn it, well, that's when problems are going to occur. You're signing a veteran that knows the scheme, knows what they're doing. That's where you could plug them right in and have success. He started every game past 2 years, which is very good. You have a health issue at tackle. You want to bring in a guy that's going to be healthy. Dwayne Brown does that. Something that Morgan Moses too. He's very reliable. Dwayne Brown, very reliable. Ranked 26th in pass block win rate. That was what? Ranked 26th in pass block win rate among offensive tackles. So that's among tackles, both left and right. So he's about right in the middle part of the league in pass block win rate. And in some other things. 5-time Pro Bowler, was a Pro Bowler last year. He was an injury fill-in. First team All-Pro and 2-time second team All-Pro. Brings a lot to the table. Has had winning in his background. Another thing I wanted to mention too with him, he played in Houston, played with Seattle, and then most recently now is playing with the Jets. He's been with winning cultures. Played with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. They've won before. They've won a lot, right? He knows what it takes to win. He's been in winning culture. He's been in a winning locker room. To have guys, and again, another example. Quan Alexander has been in winning locker rooms, was a part of that Niners team that went to the Super Bowl. Dwayne Brown, Jordan Whitehead, CJ Uzama, DJ Reed. All these guys, there's something in common. They've all been a part of Lincoln Tomlinson. The list goes on and on and on of all these guys being a part of teams that have won. Teams that, they've been in a winning locker room. They knows what it takes. Now they are the leaders on the roster. All these guys. Dwayne Brown, another example of that. And that's what's so pivotal, too, about this move. Is not only what he's doing on the field, but just what he's going to be able to bring off the field and in the locker room. And I think a lot of time that gets lost in the whole dissection of the deal. He brings a winning element. He's been in winning locker rooms. He's been with winning teams. He's played with Russell Wilson. He's played in that offense. He's played with some of the best of the best. He knows what it takes. He's never won a Super Bowl, but he's made postseason appearances. He's been in the league for a long time. Just what his veteran experience, too, what he's going to bring off the field in a locker room is huge. All right, so George Fant. So this is my one thing with the deal that I have said where, and I really like the move. Jets needed to make it. They showed a sense of urgency. Boom, Douglas gets it done. That's what we like to see. My one downside to this move is, what are you going to do with Fant now? And I want to give you some numbers. So George Fant at left tackle last year had a 70 at left tackle in his career, 71 overall grade. So that shows you that's really solid. His pass block grade was 74.9. So that was his time. This is with his time during the Jets. 71 overall grade, 74.9 pass block grade. Now, as a right tackle, 60.9 overall grade and a 60.5 pass block grade. So he's better at left tackle at both overall grade and pass block grade by a lot. He's 11% better than, he's 11 points better at overall grade and 14 points better at pass block grade at left tackle position. So there's really no denying it. George Fant is a much better left tackle than he is right tackle. And that's my one thing with this deal, is when you look at it, most likely, now, maybe they do, and I would love it, maybe they slot Dwayne Brown in at right tackle, and they're going to have that conversation over the course of the next 2 days once he gets in the building, he gets acclimated with the team, whether or not they're going to do that. My big thing is they told George Fant, hey, look, you're the left tackle. You were in that spot. You know, freak injury happens, things kind of go haywire. Maybe they bring it now maybe they switch him. I would prefer, personally, Dwayne Brown play right, Fant play left. Most likely, though, it's probably going to be Dwayne Brown at left, Fant at right, which still leaves you very solid left tackle in Dwayne Brown. Your right tackle is definitely an improvement. I think that's the way us Jet fans have to look at it. George Fant's going to be better than Max Mitchell. He's going to be better than a Chume Doga or Connor McDermott. And I think that's what we have to look at. And you reassess it in the offseason. He's going to be solid. He's not going to be as good as he is at left tackle, but he's going to be better than the options you got now. And I think that's the way Jets got to look at it. You can't completely repair your offense line now. You just got to make it work. You bring in Dwayne Brown, which you needed to do. And now if you shift Fant over, it's automatic upgrades. Fant's you're just not getting as much out of Fant as maybe you'd like. That's the thing. But like I said, maybe they move Dwayne Brown. He's only played 4 snaps in his career from right tackle. Maybe they move him over and maybe he learns it, and maybe, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. We'll see, but maybe Fant does stay left. There could very well be a competition where both of them take reps at both during training camp, and once the season comes, you kind of go ahead and say, I don't see that happening, but maybe they go that route. I think it's best for the New York Jets to say right now, if I had to guess, Dwayne Brown's going to be your left tackle, Lincoln Tomlinson's going to be at guard, Connor McGovern's going to be center, and then it's going to be AVT and George Fant. And that's a solid O-line. Just you hope that Fant can give you a little bit more production from the right side, because he was very good last year from the left side. Hope you can give you a little bit more production. But I've always said this, quarterback blind spot's huge. So you got that covered now. It's not like you have to move Fant over to right and then figure out left. No, now you got 2 guys. So, and that's the thing with the Jets. They have 2 solid guys to pick from. I think they're going to bring Dwayne Brown in, and they're going to basically say, look, left, right, or they're going to meet with Fant and say, look, you're playing right, he's playing left, or vice versa. And they're going to leave it at that. They're not going to make it a competition. They're not going to make it this big thing. They just don't have the time to do that. They need to bring these pieces in, need to get these pieces working, and boom, by week 1, so you're ready to go and you're protecting your starting quarterback. So that's the big thing. So New York Jets signed Dwayne Brown. Much needed signing. And we will see how it all plays out with George Fant. But the bottom line is, however you look at it, however you view it, this was a deal that needed to get done for the Jets, because they could not wait any longer. You need to get these pieces in, need to get these guys working together. And, of course, you got to be ready by week 1. And the biggest thing of all, the biggest impact that this has is on Zach Wilson, because now he's got protection. Now he's got trustable guys in front of him. Now you can roll with this O-line and get going with it. That's the big thing. So that's what I got for the New York Jets and the signing of Dwayne Brown, their second big signing of training camp so far, bringing in Alexander and now adding Dwayne Brown as well. Offense and defense moves there. All right, so now let's get to the New York Giants. Giants yesterday, like I said, Jets will play tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on, I believe it's going to probably be on, I'm not too sure, CBS or something like that. One of the local channels that the Jets will be on tonight. Jets, Eagles in Philly at Lincoln Financial Field. So preseason game tonight, like I said. Just hope, big thing, and we'll get to a little bit more later on in the show here. The big thing is just come out of it healthy. That's the big thing. And the New York Giants last night came out of relatively healthy. A couple injuries here and there. It's going to happen. But you came out at relatively healthy. New York Giants get the win 23-21. They move to 1-0 in the preseason, and they get the win. So the Giants now will have a game against the Bengals next Sunday, and then they'll have a game the Sunday after that against the Jets, which will be, so they'll have 2 home games now. Jets are technically going to be home, but Giants will be playing in their home stadium. So the Giants will now play against the Bengals and the Jets to close out the preseason. And look, the score really doesn't mean anything, right? They get the win 23-21. If you're a Giant fan today and you're happy, great, be happy. You could do whatever you want. Obviously you don't want to win over a loss, but it doesn't really matter. Come week 1, none of these games are going to matter. Come week 1, when you have your roster all filled out, nobody's going to be looking at week 1 preseason and say, oh, wow, that was a really good game, right? But there is definitely things to take away, and I always say that with preseason. The biggest thing is come out healthy. That's my big thing. I've always said that. Whether you go 0-3, if you go 3-0, but you got injuries all over the place, well, you mainly lost. If you go 0-3, but you're healthy, well, that's a win for you. The also big thing is, and I'll talk more about this with the Jets, but the big thing is seeing some of these guys that are on the roster bubble and what they look like, how they do, guys that are fighting for roster spots. These are big opportunities for them. I mean, this is huge for them. They're really their only chance in a way to get an opportunity to prove not only to Giants or whatever team they're on, but prove to other NFL teams that, look, I can play in this league. I can play. If you're a receiver on a really stacked receiving team and you get cut, but you had a really good preseason, very well could get picked up somewhere else. So this is an opportunity for a lot of guys, and for fans too. If there's a guy in a roster bubble that's having a good camp, that's great. If he's doing it in camp, can he take that to the game? Can he take it into a game scenario? And can he do well? And there was definitely a couple surprises yesterday from the Giants. Now, the big thing, similar to the Jets, is going to be the quarterback, right? We're all going to want to know how Zach Wilson did tonight. We're all going to want to know how Daniel Jones did last night. And I thought Daniel Jones did pretty well. Now, I watched his first possession, and like I said, I was flipping back and forth from the Giant game to the Field of Dreams game last night because, the Field of Dreams game is just too awesome to not watch. Whether, you like the Cubs and the Reds, whether you feel it's a bad game or not, no matter if my favorite team's playing it or not, like last year, the Field of Dreams game is just awesome. It's one of those games, you got to watch as a baseball fan because it's just such a cool game to watch and always fun. So I was flipping back and forth between the Giants and Patriots. And Daniel Jones, I thought, start off with the quarterback. All eyes were on him. I thought he looked pretty well. He went 6 of 10 passing, had a 51 yards, 3.2 average. I apologize. He went 6 of 10 passing, 69 yards, 6.9 average. No touchdowns, no picks, rating of 80.8. It was a clean game, no turnovers, and did his job. Now, he did have 2 possessions. In those 2 possessions, they came away with 3 points. So if you look at that factor, you kind of say, all right, it wasn't a great night. He did have some drops. He had a little bit of pressure on him a couple times where he had to get throws out early. But he commanded the field well. He made a couple good throws, got the ball out a couple times really well. There was a couple times where he went right to his first read, made the throw, got a good game, and moved on. And that's something Daniel Jones needs to do. Play smart, right? And that's another thing, too, we saw last night a little bit, where when his first read wasn't always there, he didn't panic. And we've seen that time and time again from Jones, where if his first read's not there, he panics. Like, he panics, and then he starts to his footwork gets all crazy, and he's all over the place. Something we saw last night, he was much more calm, right? He went over his options, looked at his reads, found the one, boom, made a play. That's what we saw last night from Daniel Jones. One of his plays, I remember, I forget exactly who it was to, but he threw it, he got the ball, threw it right away. It was his first read, saw that he was open, boom. Not trying to do too much, not trying to make something, not trying to score a touchdown on that play, not trying to, throw the ball 50 yards downfield and score. No, just getting the ball out, getting it out quickly, especially when you know there's a new offensive line in front of you. For your own sake, you want to try to get the ball out quickly because you don't want to get sacked and get injured in the preseason. So I thought he did some good things. Now, Daniel Jones last night, definitely, there was that one missed throw to the running back out on a screen play. There was one play against Golladay where he was pretty locked up. Daniel Jones was pressured a little bit, had to get the ball out. He actually got hit on that play, had to get the ball out. If he had like a second longer or a half a second longer, it would have been an interesting play to Golladay. And then there was the one drop by Golladay. So I see it as he was 6 of 10, one really bad throw that he missed a running back wide open, which can't happen, but you're going to fix that. There's going to be throws where you miss. Those just can't happen, especially in games. Especially, when you see a guy wide open, that can get you 5-10 yards. Now, the play probably would have been blown up anyway. Probably would have caught and gotten like 1 yard. But those plays can't happen. The one play to Golladay was, it was threw it deep. Golladay was covered pretty tightly, had to get the ball out. Half second later would have been interesting. And then he had the one drop by Golladay. And Golladay was poor yesterday. I really do think. I don't think Golladay played very well yesterday. I mean, he wasn't good. And that's concerning as a Giant fan. Whether it's the preseason or not, when he's dropping passes, one in the red zone. So when one in the red zone like that, you really can't. It's just frustrating. I mean, that's frustrating as a fan, I'm sure. To see a guy that's getting paid $72 million drop passes like that in the red zone. And that's not Daniel Jones' fault. He put it right on the money. It was a good pass and coverage. You got to catch the ball. And then you had the one to Golladay too. So, you could look at the performance and say, okay, he was 6 of 10, 60%. It's not phenomenal, but it's good. It's solid. He didn't turn the ball over. That's the big thing. Came out of it healthy, like I've been saying all along. That's the big thing as well. But you look at it as Golladay one drop, so that's not Jones' fault. You had the one really bad pass to the running back. That is his fault. And then you had the play to Golladay, which a half second later you throw it. If you have a little bit more protection. So realistically, could have been it very well could have been 8 out of 10. 80%, and you look at it completely differently. Instead, he was 6 out of 10, a couple drops, a couple missed throws, a couple times where he was a little pressured, had to get the ball out. It is what it is. But I thought for the first time, him out there, I didn't think he looked too bad. It's a new offense. He's still learning it. It wasn't perfect by any means, but the big thing was he definitely commanded it. He just have to work a little bit still on the accuracy. Like I've always said, I'm not going to nitpick too much. It's the preseason game 1. But I thought Jones did well for the first game of the preseason. And the big thing, came out of it healthy. The big thing also was he didn't turn it over, made the throws. The one Golladay drop, that's not on him. Found different receivers, spread the ball out, did what he needed to do. Daniel Jones, solid preseason 1 game. Tyrod Taylor had a very good game. 13 of 21, 129 yards, 6.1 was his average per throw, threw a touchdown. That was the only throwing touchdown of the game. He had a rating of 95.1, no sacks. Like I said, offensive line held up pretty well. And, he was solid. Tyrod Taylor was solid. And a lot of Giant fans, and I know Tyrod Taylor is not your starting quarterback, but a lot of Giant fans out there are saying that, it's just nice to see a competent backup. I think that's true. I mean, and however the season plays out for the Giants, whether Daniel Jones has a really good year and he's the guy, whether he struggles and Tyrod Taylor's got to come in. Whatever the case may be, it is nice to know that the Giants have a solid backup behind their starting quarterback. Something the Giants have not had in a very long time. You go from, other than Daniel Jones' rookie year when he took over and you had Eli as their backup, although he was out of his prime and he was much older, still I think a lot of people would take Eli as their backup over Colt McCoy or Mike Glennon. And that's the truth. You look at the Giants' backup quarterbacks. Colt McCoy, Mike Glennon last year. Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm were the 2 last year. Then you had Colt McCoy the year prior in the COVID year. There was nobody at quarterback. It was terrible. If Daniel Jones goes down, if Daniel Jones struggles and you need a guy to step in, there was nobody you could trust last year. Tyrod Taylor's a guy that can play quarterback in this league, and he can play at a pretty high level. He took the Bills to the postseason a couple years ago. Sure, they lost. Sure, they didn't go very far. They lost in the wild card game. But he's a quarterback that can... He's a borderline starter in the NFL. And it showed yesterday. I know it's preseason game 1, but he's shown a lot during camp. He can work in the offense, being from the Bills, being in that system. He knows how to play. He knows what that system's all about. He's a veteran. He commands the field well. When he's out there, you can trust him. That's something that's good. Because the worst thing ever is when you have a quarterback that goes down for an injury and you have a backup behind him that you don't trust, or a quarterback that's struggling and you can't go to, and the backup behind him, if you wanted to sit him down for a game or two or give him a break during a game, if you wanted to, if a quarterback's got, if Daniel Jones throws like 4 interceptions in a game and you want to, sit him down or bench him or, just take him out of the game to mentally refresh, and you're still in the game, the worst thing as a fan is that when you have to say, oh gosh, Colt McCoy's got to come in now, Mike Glennon's got to come in now, Jake Fromm's got to come in now. I mean, that's the worst thing as a coach too. So knowing that you have Tyrod Taylor, knowing he's a guy that commands the field, knows the system, veteran, thought he did very well yesterday. A couple throws were, he got lucky a couple times, I guess. But, it is what it is. Luck's going to have to be on your side a little bit. But I thought he did very well. I thought he commanded the field very well. And a guy, too, where pressure's on Daniel Jones. Because I think the Giants, and I get this impression. Maybe I'm wrong. And look, I'm a Jet fan, been to their training camp, went to the green-white scrimmage. I follow them a lot more closely than I do the Giants. Beat reporters, following stuff on Twitter. But I get the feeling from just the little stuff that I've learned from, hear from fellow, Giant fans that I've heard from, just all sorts of stuff. Online, you look up the Giant, at my sports apps, all that stuff. What I feel is, and maybe this is just me, and comment down below what you think about this, I feel like the Giants are in a position where if Daniel Jones struggles the first 3 weeks of the season, and they're 0-3, and Daniel Jones is really struggling, I don't think Dable would have any issue turning to Tyrod Taylor the rest of the year. I personally don't. That's just me. I really don't think that. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just crazy. But I truly believe when you really look at it, I feel as if the Giants are in a position where if Jones really struggles and he's not playing well, before you get the season to go completely haywire and way out of whack, they very well could go to Tyrod Taylor. So Tyrod did well last night. 13-21, 121 yards, like I said, 1 touchdown, 95.1 rating. But that's the feeling I get. That maybe it's just me. That's just the feeling I'm getting. I'm not at Giants training camp. I don't follow them as close as I do with the Jets, so maybe it's just me, but I do feel as if I just get that feeling just from, Dable too, kind of saying, look, the offense got to get going. I think Dable's going to have a lot shorter of a leash than some other coaches because it's not a first-year quarterback. It's a guy that's going into, his 5th year or whatever, right? Daniel Jones is a guy, or whatever, 4th year, whatever it is. He's a guy that, by now you shouldn't be making those same mistakes. You should learn by now. You got to make that jump, right? So I think that's the big thing. My other takeaways were Saquon Barkley wasn't phenomenal, but made some catches. Made a catch for 8 yards, 4 carries, 13 yards, 3.3. 5 was his longest. Again, right? Not many carries, not many catches. Only 4 carries. Got the ball 5 times with the 1 catch that he had. The big thing with Barkley was his explosiveness was there. He ran. He was healthy. Came out of it okay. It's going to be building with Barkley. I think once the regular season comes, as long as the offensive line is good to go, we know what Barkley's capable of. Barkley has the talent. Look at his first year in the league. He's phenomenal. What he did was simply remarkable. It's been the injuries. Not the talent, it's been the injuries with Barkley. So the big thing is if he can bounce back from those injuries. And I thought he would do well yesterday. I think just for Giant fans, I think getting him in the game, getting him against some live other tackling, just making sure that he takes those hits okay, is really the big thing if you're a Giant fan. And to take away from that. So Saquon Barkley as well. And that's going to be big too for the Giants. You need your run game to be good. Because if your offense is struggling, Daniel Jones is struggling, and you need to get some offense going, running backs are huge. And I said that about the Jets. Running backs are big. At times they're the quarterback's best friend. Tight ends are too, but sometimes running backs are as well because when you are in a position where you need to get yards, you need to get, if your passing game's not doing anything, receivers are dropping passes, sometimes you need that running game to kind of boost you up a little bit. So you need Barkley to be healthy this year just because it just unlocks so much. What he's capable of is being one of the best running backs in the league. So Barkley yesterday came out of healthy. That's the big thing. Antonio Williams had a really good day, and he was really solid. He had 9 carries, 61 yards, 6.8 was his average, 1 touchdown as well. Another guy that's played with the Bills, had 1 game with the Bills in 2020. Actually had 2 touchdowns in that game. He's 24 years old. One of those guys that is on the roster bubble, kind of figuring out, what his place is going to be on the roster. Very well may be the backup. We'll see how it all plays out, but had a very good game. And a game where he found the holes, took what the line was giving him, found the holes, got a really good game, had a couple really explosive runs. One of them was the 19-yard run. So had a couple really explosive runs, was averaging upwards towards 7 yards per run. So a guy that 9 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown, really good day for Antonio Williams, and that's good to see if you're the Giants. You want to see that depth, especially, and like I said, I'm not trying to be negative, but especially with the Giants and their history at the running back position, with the injuries to Barkley and all that stuff. Especially with all that, you want to see your depth giving you solid performances, because you just don't know with Barkley. You got to make sure that he stays healthy. If he's not healthy, you need to have backup backs. You need to have depth at that position. That's the big thing. So Antonio Williams did very well. 9 carries, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. Very explosive, especially the 119-yard run. Colin Johnson had a really good game at the receiver position. 24 years old guy that played with the Jaguars and a little bit with the Giants last year. Another depth piece that had a really good game. 7 catches, 82 yards, 11.7 was his average. Longest was his 17. He had 8 targets, so getting the ball out to him. He did have 1 fumble. That was really the only negative from him, but other than that, was really, really, really pretty solid. Outside of the fumble, you take away the fumble, he had a very good night. The fumble hurts him a little bit, but other than that, was good. And his longest was 17 too, a guy that can definitely trust in the open field. And Kenny Galladay's my last guy, and he was poor. 1 catch, 6 yards, had 3 targets, had a drop. It's just, I don't know. You know how I feel about Galladay. I mean, the big thing's health. Last year, he was not always healthy. Even when he was out there, he just wasn't very good. And that's the concerning part with Galladay. And that's one thing I could say with the Lions. When he was healthy with the Lions, even when he was healthy with the Lions, or even when he was injury prone, but when he was healthy, he would make impacts. On the Giants last year, when he was healthy, even when he was healthy, he just wasn't good. And then you see again last night where he drops that pass in the red zone. The 1 target that Jones gave him earlier was pretty locked up by a defender, second-team defense. Those are the type of things that really concern you for a guy that's getting $72 million. And I think that's the concerning part for the Giants. Is, when you look at his Lions stats, injuries were still an issue. But when he was healthy, he was one of the better receivers out there. He was a very good receiver. Very good. Big thing was health. Now with the Giants, it's not only is health an issue, but even when he's out there, is he going to give you performances that you feel that you trust? Can you now trust him? Yesterday dropping the red zone pass, do you trust him in the red zone? These are all things that you got to put into account with Kenny Galladay. And I just don't know. His camp, he's made some catches in camp, but I don't know. The last thing you want is for him to become health is an issue and just his overall performances are an issue. That's the last thing you want. So we'll see how it all plays out, but Kenny Galladay was not good. And this is a guy that definitely, I think, needs to gain the trust of the coaching staff. And if he wants to have a big role in this offense, he's got to start making some plays. And he's also got to stay healthy. And when he's healthy, he's got to make plays. So, Galladay's in the big year, because if he struggles this year, I guarantee you he's not on the roster next season. I'm sure Dable and his coaching staff's going to have him under a spotlight. He's a guy that he did not bring in. Gettleman brought in. Gave him a ton of money. He's a guy that if he doesn't fit, if he's not playing well, if he's hurt, he's not going to be with the Giants much longer. And I'm not overreacting over 1 preseason games. This is something that was going on all last year. It's something that periodically has gone on through training camp, and something you saw again last night, where sometimes he's either locked up, or he's just not in the picture, or he's dropping passes. It's not good. It's not good, I will tell you that. But I will tell you, the good outweighed the bad yesterday for the New York Giants. I thought there was a lot of good. You know my feelings on Daniel Jones. I don't believe he's a franchise guy, but I thought he did well yesterday. I thought he commanded the field well. I thought Tyrod Taylor did well. I thought the offense as a whole, they got the win as well. So I thought overall, Giants had a very solid first preseason game and a lot to build on and a good starting point. Good starting point. Now you continue to build and you continue to get better going into the season and closing out the preseason with your next two games. So that's what I got for the New York Giants and their preseason game last night. Jets will be tonight, 7:30 Eastern in Philly, Lincoln Financial. So we'll see how that goes. Big thing. Keep saying it. Health. Come out of it healthy, and that's a win. All right, so let's get to the New York Sports Update and the rest of baseball to finish out the week here. We're going to start things off here with with baseball, and then we'll get to some football. Marlins, Braves tonight, Nationals, Padres. Juan Soto makes his Nationals return. Blue Jays, Guardians, Rays, Orioles, White Sox, Tigers, Mariners, Mariners, Rangers, rather. A's, Astros, Royals, Dodgers, Cardinals, Brewers, Rockies, Diamondbacks, Angels, Twins, and Pirates, Giants. By the way, I think I said this earlier. Cubs won last night 4-2 at the Field of Dreams game. It was funny because yesterday it was like in the first inning, Lodolo got the first two outs quickly. And you hear that, you're like, okay, the shadows. And then, boom, next three batters are boom, boom, boom. 3 hits, 3 doubles. I believe it's 3 doubles. Trading places with each other. Started with Sai Suzuki. So, Cubs put the beating down early. Drew Smyly pitched well. Good win last night for the Cubs. Mets, Phillies tonight. Mets come into tonight's game 73-39. Phillies come into tonight's game 62-49. Phillies have Ranger Suarez on the mound. He's 8-5 with a 3.68 ERA. Mets have Max Scherzer on the mound. He's 8-2 with a 1.98 ERA. Over/under set at 7. Game 1 of a 3-game set. 7:10 Eastern. Looks like the game's on Apple TV Plus. So for those of you out there that don't get that, a lot of people, I'm sure, Apple TV Plus. I always say this about Apple TV Plus. Graphics are great. Broadcasting, the people on the broadcast are terrible. Terrible. Do not do a good job at all. Yankees, Red Sox tonight. Yankees come into tonight's game 71-41. Red Sox come into tonight's game 55-58. 7:10 Eastern on Network and Yes Network. You can find it on. Yankees got Domingo Germán. He's 1-2 with a 5.09 ERA. And the Red Sox got Nathan Eovaldi on the mound. He's 5-3 with a 4.23 ERA. Over/under set at 9 for tonight's game. And as for the NFL, like I said last night, Giants got the win 23-21. Ravens extended their 20-game win streak, so they are now 21-game win streak in the preseason. So wild. They won 23-10. Tonight you got the Lions, Falcons, Browns, Jaguars, Cardinals, Bengals, 49ers, Packers. And those are your games tonight, along with the New York Jets against the Eagles. Jets, Eagles tonight. Eagles come in. I saw the line was even, 1-point favorites, whatever. Over/under set at 35.5 tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Jets, Eagles should be good. Like I said, just looking to see what Wilson can do. Weapons, utilize some of them. Couple starters, but even depth pieces. Calvin Jackson's a guy to look out for. LaMichael Pirine. LaMichael Pirine's another guy. Zonovan Knight. Who's going to kind of be that third running back? Tevin Coleman. Denzel Mims, is he going to play a role on special teams? All those different things, all those different pieces that are going to play a role tonight, and we'll see what their futures are with the roster coming up here. So, as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning in my main league 156-100. So things are going pretty good there. Currently winning 156-100, and tonight I've got Max Scherzer, Jose Berrios, Carlos Rodon, and Tony Gonsolin on the mound. So looking forward to that. And as for my other league, I'm currently winning 142-130. And I've got Jose Berrios, Carlos Rodon, Michael Kopech, and Eric Lauer. Like I said, I got Scherzer on the mound tonight. And I wanted to bring that up because the Mets versus Phillies this series, the pitching matchups are phenomenal. You have Max Scherzer versus Ranger Suarez tonight. Jacob deGrom versus Aaron Nola tomorrow. And I believe you'll have Chris Bassett versus Zach Wheeler on the mound tomorrow, or Sunday. So Scherzer, Ranger, Suarez tonight. Tomorrow you got Jacob deGrom versus Aaron Nola, which I think is definitely the best of them all. And then Chris Bassett versus Zach Wheeler. So a very, very good 3-game pitching matchup for the Phillies and the Mets. And it just so happens that, what's his face? Syndergaard pitched Wednesday, so he won't be able to pitch in this series. So Syndergaard won't be able to pitch against the Mets, which stinks a little bit because, you'd like to see how he gets the ovation and stuff. Probably wouldn't get any ovation, but, Mets I'm sure would. Those are one of those games where a little bit more energy, but definitely a very good pitching matchup coming up this weekend. So we'll see how it all plays out. But, Yankees tonight against the Red Sox. Got to look to turn things around. Have to. And a Red Sox team that has not been very good at all this year. 55-58. The way it's looking, they're not going to make the playoffs. They gotta turn things around quickly if they want to even make any chance at it. And for the Yankees, they gotta turn things around as well. I mean, you can't. They gotta be better. So they'll look to snap their recent skid tonight, and if they can do that, they will be in a like I said, the Yankees don't have to go to Boston and sweep them. That would be great, but just take 2 out of 3 and get back on the right track. Get back on get back to winning a series. Go back home on a high note, after a rough road trip. Just take care of business. Go back home to New York with a series win and get ready for a big homestand. That's how I look at it for the New York Yankees. So that will wrap things up today and the week. As always, as you all know, I'll see you all back here on Monday. By the way, Bub's Talking Baseball podcast, that will be up on Sunday. So if you're interested in that, that will be on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. And I'm also going to start my Gangrene podcast. Plan on doing one today, so I'll try to get that one up and get it out there as well. That will also be on Apple Podcasts, In the Trenches with Gangrene. So if you're interested in all that stuff, all of that will be up. As for this podcast, I will see you all back here on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy all the sports. Go Yankees. Turn things around. A little bit of football as well, so enjoy all of it. I'll see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.